أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقال الملك إني أرى 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن سبع عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخر يابسات يا أيها الملأ أفتوني في رؤياي إن كنتم للرؤيا تعبرون قالوا أضغاث أحلام وما نحن بتأويل الأحلام بعالمين وقال الذي نجا منهما وادكر بعد أمة أنا أنبئكم بتأويله فأرسلون يوسف أيها الصديق أفتنا في 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخر يابسات لعلي أرجع إلى الناس لعلهم يعلمون قال تزرعون 7 سنين دأبا فما حصدتم فذروه في سنبله إلا قليلا مما تأكلون ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك 7 شداد يأكلن ما قدمتم لهن إلا قليلا مما تحصنون ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك عام فيه يغاث الناس وفيه يعصرون. Inshallah, we're starting today from ayah number 43 of Surah Yusuf, and as we probably can remember, last week Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam had mentioned to the people that had asked him the interpretation of the dreams. He had told them the interpretation, and one of them was the person that was going to be the person who gave the king wine in his court. And he reminded him that when you get to that position of being the chief server of wine to the king, then make sure you remember me and mention me in front of him. But unfortunately, this person, he forgot, and Yusuf alayhi salam stayed in prison for a few years until this next incident took place. What was the incident? The king, he had a dream, and this is where it starts off from. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ, the king said, إِنِّي أَرَى 7 بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ. In this dream, he says that I'm seeing 7 healthy cows, وَسَبْعٌ يَأْكُلُهُنَّ 7 عِجَافٍ. There are 7 weak cows, and those weak cows are eating the healthy cows. This is what he's seeing in the dream. So again, the king sees in a dream there are 7 healthy cows, and then 7 cows, weak cows, they come and eat those healthy cows. And he also saw in the dream وَسَبْعَ سُنبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ وَأُخَرَ يَابِسَاتٍ, and 7 ears of corn that were lush and green, and others which were dry. Okay, so 7 others basically that were dry. So 7 lush ears of corn and 7 dry ones. So this is the dream that the king had. So he said, يَا أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأُ أَفْتُونِي فِي رُؤْيَايَ إِن كُنْتُمْ لِلرُّؤْيَا تَعْبُرُونَ. O my people, give me a fatwa, or give me a ruling, or give me a decision, or give me information about this dream if you are the people that interpret dreams. So the word ta'burun, it indicates things that are hidden, okay, and then they become exposed. So this is the word ibra, for example. What does ibra mean? We use this word in Urdu also. Ibrat basically meaning you take a hidden lesson from something that happens to you. So ta'burun, it is from the same root letter, and it means to interpret or expose something that is hidden, meaning in this case to interpret the dreams. So the people around the king, they said أضغاث أحلام. أضغاث أحلام, meaning these are all mixed up dreams. I mean, it's just such a confusing dream. وَمَا نَحْنُ بِتَأْوِيلِ الْأَحْلَامِ بِعَالِمِينَ. And we do not have the knowledge of interpreting dreams. So basically they threw up their hands and they said, we have no knowledge whatsoever about interpreting dreams, and especially this dream, it seems very, very confusing. So they gave up immediately. And then at that point, when this conversation took place, that person who had been with Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he remembered the exchange that he had with Yusuf alayhi salam, and he remembered that Yusuf had mentioned to him that, mention me in front of the king. And then he remembered. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that person. وَقَالَ الَّذِي نَجَا مِنْهُمَا. The person who was saved from those two, meaning the two that had asked for the interpretation of the dream, the one that was saved from them, he said, وَادَّكَرَ بَعْدَ أُمَّةٍ. And he remembered after a long time. The word ummah, it has many different meanings depending on the context in which it's used. Ummah, we know that we are in the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. So that means a group of people who follow one focus, one purpose. That's one meaning of ummah. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He refers to Ibrahim ﷺ as كَانَ أُمَّةً قَانِتًا لِلَّهِ حَنِيفًا. He himself was an ummah. And ummah, when it's referring to a person, it means a person who has the collection, a combination of all good qualities that are found in one person. That person is referred to as ummah. But here the meaning is after a long time. Ummah here in this context, it means that he remembered after a long time. And the word وَالذَّكَرَ is actually, the root letter is dhakara, and grammatically there's a certain rule that the dal can be changed into dal when certain situations take place, and that's one of those situations. So he remembered after a long time, أَنَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِتَأْوِيلِ. I'm going to tell you the interpretation of the dream. فَأَرْسِلُونَ. So send me, meaning send me into the prison so I can talk to Yusuf alayhi salam and get the interpretation of the dream from him. So the next ayah, it starts talking immediately about the conversation that then takes place between Yusuf alayhi salam and this person. So it fast forwards. So this is one of the habits of the Quran, that when there is no need to go into any discussion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala minimizes the conversation very much. And in this case, he asked permission from the king, send me, and then in the very next ayah, he's right in front of Yusuf alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have said, well, the king asked him what was the permission for, and then he gave him written permission, and then he went all the way to the prison, which was so many miles away, and then he talked to the guards, and then the guards let him in, and then he went down the flight of stairs and he looked for all of the cells in which the prisoners were. Then he found Yusuf alayhi salam. So all of this is basically needless, and it has no purpose behind it, all of this talk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when there is a need to omit needless talk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala omits it. And that concept of omitting this talk is called ijaz. In Arabic, in balagha, to omit things which are not needed, that is called ijaz. And then also, opposite of that sometimes happens. The opposite is what? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to discuss something in great detail. For example, He may want to describe Jannah in great detail. And there are many, many verses in the Quran that bear testimony to this, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to talk about Jannah. When people are listening and hearing about paradise, they want to enjoy and they want to hear more about paradise. So He continues and talks about many, many different aspects of paradise. And then sometimes He wants to emphasize all of the different types of punishments that are going on in hell. So He emphasizes by lengthening the description of it. So that is called itanab, the lengthening of the verses and mentioning more and more detail. that is referred to as itnab, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do that on occasion. So two different extremes, ijaz and itnab. Ijaz, minimizing; itnab, lengthening. Why? Because the person who's reading, he is interested in knowing more and more in detail. So here we have the example of ijaz, that the guard or the king, he gives him permission, and immediately in the next ayah, he is in front of Yusuf alayhi salam. So he says to Yusuf alayhi salam, Yusufu ayyuha siddiq. O Yusuf, O truthful one. So Siddiq, it is more broader than Sadiq. Sadiq means a person who is truthful in his tongue. But Siddiq means a person who's truthful in aqwal and a'mal, meaning that his tongue is truthful and his a'mal and the deeds that come from him and emanate from him, they are also truthful, in the sense that he is an honorable person in every aspect of his life. He uses his eyes honorably, he uses his hands honorably, he doesn't steal, and he basically earns a trustworthy living, honest living. So his feet are trustworthy, and the a'mal that come from his feet, they are trustworthy. So Siddiq is a combination of truthfulness in aqwal and a'mal. So that's the difference between Sadiq and Siddiq. So obviously, when this person spent time with Yusuf alayhi salam in prison, he saw both of these things from Yusuf alayhi salam. He was truthful of tongue, and of course the deeds that came from him, being a prophet, they were also truthful and good and honorable. So therefore he knew that he was Siddiq. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he says to him, Yusufu ayyuha Siddiq. O Yusuf, O truthful one. Aftina, give us this fatwa, give us this ruling about this dream. Fi sab'i baqaratin simanin ya'kuluhunna sab'un ijaf. About these 7 healthy cows and 7 weak cows are eating them. وَسَبْعِ سُنْبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ وَأُخْرَ يَابِسَاتٍ, and 7 lush and green ears of corn, and others which are dry. Others which are dry. لَعَلِّي أَرْجِعُ إِلَى النَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. And here the wording used is maybe. Maybe I can go back to the people and maybe they can learn from this and they can understand. So basically when he's asking the question, he's not sure whether he'll get the correct answer or not. So he is kind of apprehensive. So he uses this wording terminology, لَعَلِّي, maybe I can go back to the people, return back to them. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ, and maybe they can get the knowledge of this. قَالَ تَزْرَعُونَ سَبْعَ سِنِينَ دَأَبًا. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he interprets this dream. And he says that you're going to make zara'ah, meaning you're going to farm continuously for 7 years. Sab'a sinin, 7 years. Da'aba means muadhabatan, continuously. So Yusuf alayhi salam is instructing them, for the next 7 years, make sure you work hard and you do the best that you can to make the best crops possible for yourself. Grow as much as you can. Grow as much corn, grow as much wheat, and whatever you can, grow it for the next 7 years. And then he says, فَمَا حَصَدْتُمْ فَذَرُوهُ فِي سُنْبُلٍ. Whatever you harvest, don't take the seeds or the wheat and so on, don't take it out of its shell. فَذَرُوهُ فِي سُنْبُلٍ. Leave it in its shell, and what will that do? It will keep it preserved and it will not let it go bad. فَذَرُوهُ فِي سُنْبُلٍ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِمَّا تَأْكُلُونَ. Only take out from the shell that what you're going to consume. Meaning, what we call nowadays austerity measures, right? Austerity is a well-known term, especially since the credit crunch that took place a few years ago. Austerity in Europe, austerity in the US and so on. So he's saying to them that for 7 years you're going to get a good crop, but make sure that you only consume from that what you need. The rest you keep it in its shell, let it get preserved, because what's going to happen is that ثُمَّ يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ سَبْعٌ شِدَادٌ. Then what's going to happen after that is you're going to get 7 severe years, 7 hard years, meaning you're not going to get any rain for 7 years. يَأْكُلْنَ مَا قَدَّمْتُمْ لَهُنْ. And these 7 years will eat what you have sent forward to them. Meaning that the wording used is as if the years they have a life of their own and they're consuming the crops that have been preserved and saved in the 7 good years. But what it means is that in those 7 years you're going to consume the wealth and the crops and the food and the wheat and the corn and everything that you've preserved, you have kept it, and those 7 years you're going to utilize that crop that you've kept. يَأْكُلْنَ مَا قَدَّمْتُمْ لَهُنَّ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِمَّا تُحْسِنُونَ. Except for that which you have saved, that will not be consumed by the years. Basically you're going to be able to use it at that time. And then what's going to happen? ثُمَّ يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ عَامٌ فِيهِ يُغَاثُ النَّاسُ وَفِيهِ يَعْصِرُونَ. And then what's going to happen? After 7 years of hardship and drought, a year is going to come in which يُغَاثُ النَّاسُ غَيْث. Ghayth means a strong rainfall is going to come. وَفِيهِ يَعْصِرُونَ. And in this year, يَعْصِرُونَ, people will squeeze. Meaning squeeze means here that squeeze oil from the olives, squeeze juice from the fruits, and basically they will have a lot of crops and everything after this 7 years of hardship. So this was the dream of the king, and it was interpreted by Yusuf alayhi salam, and basically this is exactly what happened, that for 7 years they had all of this good crop and 7 years of hardship, and then after that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with rain and then a good crop again. So this person went back to the king and he explained this dream to him, and at that point the king said, obviously asking the question, where did you get this interpretation from? And when he was told, the king says, وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي بِهِ. Bring this person to me. This person that you got this interpretation from, bring him to me. And that's where inshallah we'll continue with next week. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq to understand and practice what has been said and heard.